Trump's tariffs, here we go. 5 minutes, very, very quickly. You are misunderstanding what's going on because you are not thinking of these tariffs in the context that they were created. You are thinking of tariffs in the context of imports of goods into the United States. That's not what it's about. It's about export of dollars, US dollars, from the United States. When we talk about a trade deficit, which is what these tariffs are meant to address, the trade deficit is about export of US dollars being higher than import of US dollars from another country. What is import of US dollars? How do we get US dollars back from outside of the country? We get them back by exporting our goods, by selling our goods in exchange for US dollars, and US companies get that money to come back in. What is going on with US dollars? Well, if we were to just look at paper currency, the vast majority of it is not inside the borders of the United States. 60% of all US dollar notes, physical notes, are outside the borders of the United States. 80% of paper $100 bills are outside of the borders of the United States. If you were to take all of the foreign currency reserves of every country in the world and you added them up, the majority is in US dollars. That is outside of the control of the United States or United States entities. So how do we get the dollars back? Well, we would need to sell our goods to them in order to get our dollars back after we had sent our dollars to them in exchange for their goods. But what happens if they put up barriers such that we cannot sell our goods to them? Then we cannot get the dollars back. But we have to have dollars. We have to have dollars to keep our economy running because this is the US. It runs on US dollars. What happens if you don't have US dollars? You're going to need to print money. This is not at issue. You can go back and read On the Nature and Necessity of Paper Currency by Benjamin Franklin in the 1720s. He's the first person to print currency in the United States. Why did he print them? Because there were not enough dollars. What dollars am I talking about? The US doesn't exist at that time. I'm talking about Spanish silver dollars, the Spanish peso. That's what was used. That was the global reserve currency. That's what the US dollar is based on, by the way. The dollar is in the US Constitution twice. That word can't be referring to the US dollar because the US didn't exist. It's referring to the Spanish silver dollar. There weren't enough of them in Massachusetts or any of the colonies, and so Ben Franklin started printing money. It's the same reason that we print it today. How do we print it, though? We basically go into debt. So the only way that we're able to get our US dollars back to our country is we have to basically sell our treasuries. We have to go into debt in order to get China and the rest to come back and give us our dollars. So that means instead of having a flat situation where we were exporting to them and importing our dollars back, we now can only import our dollars by selling debt, which puts the country in debt. That's where your inflation comes from. These tariffs, important part about them, they are reciprocal tariffs. So that means that any country that doesn't want to have a tariff doesn't have to have a tariff. Have a 0% tariff on US goods so that the dollars inside your country can come back into the US, and we will put 0% tariffs on you. And then that's the same thing as being within the United States. So you just became a part of the American empire. Welcome. Nice to see you. This is the war. This is the new colonialism, and we're using the dollar to do it.